Is the sound of peace. Because Pam finally found a solution to managing her stress, thanks to the help of an Aetna wellness coach. Now she releases her tension by throwing on her headphones and training for her first 5K. For her first 5K. Aetna, you don't join us. We join you. Find out more at aetnawejoinyou.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, and welcome back to another night's show, and we have Warren with us here. Hello, Warren.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Not too bad. And I also have our 414 caller, I believe he's Sean.
Hi, Bill.
Well, hello, Sean, and welcome to the show. Well, anyhow, I want to talk a little bit about, first off, about the porn, the fear porn that's going on right now on YouTube. I would tell people to take the storms you're seeing if you're watching somebody like Logic Before Authority or DP Earthwatch. If you're watching either one of these two people and they're showing you the radar and they're showing you the storms that's going on, you've got 3 hurricanes out there, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I like this one gal, she's showing the radar, and she's actually showing the real radars, and I've got all the links for the real radars, and I'm going to watching them, and she's showing the truth. And so what she did today, she really had me laughing. Because I guess mainstream media or somebody's reporting that North Korea launched a missile at Japan. So her name of her video is North Korea launches cartoon at Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've been watching the radar, and OB Earth is coming up there, and he's showing all this monster hurricane, Category 5, hitting the islands right now. And I go on the radars, and I start looking, and there ain't no storm there.
Well, it's like you were just telling me before the show started, Bill. Like a cloud that was just sitting there for several days. Like, look, okay, I'm not a geologist, but let me go ahead and set this straight here, okay? Clouds don't just sit there in one spot. Even a natural cloud, it moves. It doesn't sit in one spot, especially for several days.
Oh, yes. Well, there's also something else. These clouds have been sitting in one spot, and it looked like there were just a bunch of little clouds broke up sitting in one spot for 4 or 5 days, and now they're starting to turn into something. So what you're looking at is the military-industrial complex creating Joseph. So that so-called hurricane you're going to hear on mainstream media about Joseph or whatever you want to call it, that is definitely man-made. That's the military-industrial complex.
Well,
and
as
the
far
radar
as North Korea supposedly launches a nuke at Japan, I don't buy that. I'll tell you why I don't buy that. Because if something like that big happened, it'd be a lot bigger of a news. There's no way they could keep it that hush-hush. I mean, it'd be all over the news here. There'd be no way around that.
Oh, I know. What you're actually witnessing going on is fear porn.
Yeah.
That's really what you're witnessing. Lies. That's what that is. It's propaganda being pushed in people's faces to scare the hell out of them.
You know what really happened? If North Korea launched a nuke at Japan, let's say they launched a nuke at Japan, right? And then Japan's going to launch its nukes back at North Korea, and before you know it, everybody's going to be launching nukes at everybody.
Yeah,
right.
I got one person up here that says that nukes ain't real, okay? And he provided a link, okay? Provided a search link for YouTube, and sort of like, have you ever looked into Flat Earth?
Yeah, it's a scam, but yeah.
I understand that, but listen to what I'm saying. There's all kinds of documentaries and information showing you Flat Earth, right? So I put in this stuff on nukes, right? And you got the same thing. There's a whole documentaries and stuff, and people need to way back. Okay, showing that the entire nuclear thing has been a sham on the people for years.
There's a lot of distortion on here, man. Like, I mean, I can kind of hear you, but it seems like there's a lot of distortion.
So, Sean, are you working again?
Yeah, I'm driving home from work again.
Okay, yep. That noise you're hearing is from Sean. When it gets to too much, I'll pause you for a little bit, but I won't remove you from the show.
All right. Anyway.
Okay, and that's only if the noise gets to overtake the show. Then I will pause you so we don't hear the noise of you working in the background.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, I do have a 207 caller. And 207.
Yeah, that's me.
That would be Jerry. Welcome to the show, Jerry.
Hey, how are you? How is everybody?
Hey, I'm doing all right, bro. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, it's amazing what people can be brought to believe, man. Like Adam Weishaupt was one of the former godfathers of the New World Order, or the Illuminati back in the day. He said it in the words of, foolish man, what can't you be made to believe? And people will believe whatever the fuck their media tells them, man, uncritically. It's funny, I don't throw the term conspiracy theorist around, but even if we take the official story, right? Like, even if you want to go like something like 9/11, you take the official story, okay? That's a conspiracy theory, right? If you believe that a group of people, no matter who they are, even if it's a bunch of piss poor third world militants from some poor country, if you believe they got together and they launched a plan to attack the world skyscraper, isn't that a conspiracy theory? Because I mean, if you look at the definition of a conspiracy, all it means is two or more people get together and plan something in clandestine, right? I mean, let's say, Jerry, if I get together with you, right, and we launch a plan that we're going to rob a bank, that's a criminal conspiracy, man. Common people get charged with criminal conspiracies every fucking day. We're supposed to believe our government wouldn't do that.
I've seen it in the court system. You know, it's crazy that, I mean, if you really look at the word itself, it's, you know, it's not even correctly defining what, you know, people that are into, you know, what would be considered conspiracies are actually doing.
Yeah, you know?
If anything, they're actually, like, calling out the actual conspirators. So, you know, if you looked at it, the people that are into conspiracy theories are actually behaving like a court when they're dealing with people that are committing a conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly it, and that's why it's just, in a way, it's hilarious, but it's also sickening that people out here can't even look something that simple up to understand what's being thrown in their face.
I don't know. They can't. People don't know the basics of anything anymore.
Because people summarily write it off the minute you say that your government is criminally corrupt. I mean, oh, that couldn't possibly happen to us. And, you know, bad stuff only happens to other people.
Well, I don't understand why people just don't look at their checks every week and they can't figure out the government's criminally corrupt.
Well, it's like I said last week on the show, man, and you weren't here on that last show, but I brought this up last week. Okay. Do you remember, because you're a little bit older than I am, man, you remember back 20 years or so ago when you got your paycheck, right, okay, you had to take your money out of your paycheck to pay back taxes, right? They gave you your full money, and you had to take your money out of that to pay back your taxes, right? It's not like that no more. Nowadays, they take your taxes out before you even cash the damn thing, automatically.
Yeah.
You know,
and in theory, they're doing it without your permission because, you know, you're being forced to either get if you want your check, you have to agree to these, you know, this corruption of thuggery that takes your money.
And here's the thing, man. People are going to sit here and say, you know, that, oh, well, we need it for this and that and these programs and that program, whatever, all these excuses. But here's the thing about that. That doesn't fly, right? Because it's just an excuse at the end of the day. Because if you go back to the early days of America, right, and I know that was, you know, all that was planned too. That's a whole other story. But here's the thing, man. Okay, if you go back to the early days of America, people were against the concept of taxation, so much so that they fought a war against it. Remember the Boston Tea Party attacks or Boston Tea Party massacre? Yeah, because they weren't having that shit.
Well, I don't know how people can't figure this out. You know, I mean, even one of the highest paid government workers, you know, is our president, making, you know, what, $350,000, $400,000 a year. A senator makes maybe around $200,000. A congressman is making like $80,000 a year. Now, how do all these people, if you go near their homes, wherever state you particularly live in, they're multi-million-dollar homes. They got multi-million-dollar boats. You know, how do people not figure out that these people are getting money from other places?
And then they're going to sit here and say, "Oh, we're going to tax the public. Oh, we need jobs, man. We need money from the poor and working class while we're taking all your money so we can go on these elaborate fucking vacations and, you know, I mean, and buy this expensive shit. I mean, it's, you know, but they got all this money they're sitting on, they're not doing nothing with, but they want our money."
Well, yeah, it's so in people's faces, and that's what really gets it. That's what's really annoying. It is so in their face. You know, and then right now we got all this BS going on with the so-called hurricanes and storms out there, and you look at the actual real radars, and they don't exist. And what little bit of clouds you do see, like the one clouds that have been sitting there 4 or 5 days, are actually starting to develop something now. But then I was looking at another map that I have, another radar I got that actually shows the wind direction. Do you realize hurricanes actually spin counterclockwise, not clockwise?
Yeah. That's the problem.
Well, here's another thing to think about, too, and it goes back to the whole taxation thing, right? Go back to about the time of 9/11. George Bush was president at that time, okay? Here's the thing, okay? The Bush family are millionaires, billionaires in the fucking oil industry, man, in Texas, okay? Yeah, bear this in mind, okay? We got to go to some piss-poor third-world country that can barely even put boots on a third of its fucking troops, right? Knock them out and take their oil, right? Take their oil and tax our people on the oil that we stole from another country when our president was already a millionaire in the oil industry, had oil fields all over Texas.
Well, I think people are, what me and Bill were looking into the other day, I think people need to be more concerned why, you know, the Bush family and other families are getting out of the oil business. You know, that should be waking more people up. I don't understand why people aren't looking at that.
Well, yeah, because they want to kill the oil business, because what they're doing is they're transferring it to another market, man. They're transferring it to the ethanol market or something like that, because this new age movement coming in, man. It's ending one priesthood that they've done used, and it's bringing in the new priesthood for the new age, which is a scientific dictatorship in the new age, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what we were talking about, you're way off topic on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying is they want to get rid of petroleum-based. They want to get rid of the gas industry. They want to, because it's all becoming environmental friendly and all this shit, right? All this new age shit, and it's like, of course, all this environmentalism is going to be used as a ploy to take away property rights.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but this is a little bit deeper than what you're even thinking, Warren.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, and I'm not.
Look at the. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was going to let you. If you want to bring that up, we'll bring that up now because we haven't even discussed how we want to do that yet.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it doesn't even matter. But you know, I mean, it's they're going after water. They're going after water. The Bush family just, you know, I talked about it a couple of years back where the Bush family bought up, I think it's 167 million acres of aquifer in Paraguay, and then bought up another aquifer down in New Zealand. And they're stealing water all over the world, all over the country, all over the world. And
that makes sense because people need water to survive, so you can starve them out by taking their water.
Yeah, they sure can. They're already doing it. They're buying up these aquifers, and then the people that have land on it, they're making them stop their wells, cap their wells, and they're doing it legally. And I don't think people realize that we've all been spoiled. You know, going to the store, you can buy a bottle of water, but you know, like today, I live near a spring, so I was able to take a couple of gallon jugs. I go up to the spring, I fill up. Now I could drink that water straight. No fluoride, no nothing added to it. It is pure, clean water. I give it to my dog, and ever since I've been giving it to my dog, she's been feeling better, running around more and whatnot, because, it's not, it's actual clean, pure drinking water. And there's not many of these places left that aren't bought up, and it's, people don't realize how important to, have free access to water that is non-contaminated, And
see, this is nothing new. They, governments have been doing this for a long time. Like, if you go to most of the poor countries where they're going hungry, right, because the governments have realized that you can use food and water as a weapon against the people, right? They keep their people hungry as a way of controlling them. It's the same thing like if you look at the Irish potato famine, right? Like, I'm an Irish guy. That's my ancestor, right? What they do, they starve them out. They've been doing this for thousands of years. I mean, they'll use all of your needs against you.
Well, actually, that's the problem. Even when you look at the history of that, it wasn't actually a potato famine. What they did is the British came in with ships and stole all the crops. They stole not just the potatoes, they stole the meat, and then what they did, and this is the worst thing they did during the potato famine, or what it was, that's not exactly what it was, is they forced the kids in school to stop speaking their language. So now when you force a history, when you start destroying a person's history, a people's natural heritage, and I think that's what even Bill brought up, the UNESCO. They take the heritage sites and say they're protecting them, but by protecting them, when they put up fences around them, they're not allowing the people that are a part of that culture, that heritage, to practice those traditions, and they're actually destroying the tradition and destroying the heritage and destroying what's being handed down to them, and then they're being taught the new thing, and then they forget the history.
Which is kind of what they're doing to Islam today.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to sit there and say I completely agree with Islam, but that's what they're doing to Islam today.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I don't think people. We all don't have to agree with other people on this planet, but if they're practicing their thing, as long as it's not hurting children, and they're practicing it wherever they practice it and not pushing it on anybody else, why not let them practice it? I think that's a good thing to let people be different.
Well, it is. Individuality is very important, and you have another culture, just because you don't agree with it, don't give you a right to say it's wrong or attack them.
Yeah, exactly, Like, I'm against the institution of organized religion, but I'm not necessarily against religious people, unless they're very, very fanatical and intolerant. Then I am against them. But
I think a lot of times when we see these fanatical people, we see outside influences even by our government. Just look at the Mormons. When George Romney, who was Mitt Romney's father, he was the governor of Michigan, he was the one in charge with bringing the MKUltra program to the Mormons. So, if we think about it, we know them since I've grown up. I've always known the Mormons to come, they come from door to door and this and that. But now I would like to look into evidence of them if they traveled before George Romney actually got involved with the church. Did they come door to door back then? Back in the, before the 60s?
It's interesting you bring up Mormonism, because a lot of these new cults are popping up like this, particularly Scientology, man, is the first one that comes to mind. I'm thinking because nobody really knows for sure what exactly the New Age religion is going to be pushed onto the world, as the global religion is going to be. But I have my theories that it's going to be a mashup of Scientology and Theosophy.
I think you're right. I've been studying Theosophy just because. Madame Blavatsky and her whole crew, the way they kind of worked with the Seventh-day Adventists and everything else, they've really been the ones that have been involved in every mess this country and England's ever had.
And they want to do it in the name of science, right? So think about this here for a moment. Right now, the scientific community is predominantly like hardline atheists, right? But you got to think about it from an establishment point of view. If you want to get the atheists and the New Agers on a ball together, you got to have a plan to get them together, right? Now bear with me on this, okay? Most of the hardcore atheist crowd are going to believe in some alien astronaut theory right now because they haven't been given a fake alien scare yet. But the Ronald Reagan administration has talked about using a fake alien scare. I mean, as far back as the 80s. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is they don't believe that right now because their mainstream media ain't telling them that right now. But a lot of these hardcore atheists are simps to the government, man. They suck up to the government. Don't believe whatever their media tells them, right? If their media tells them, comes up with fixed evidence and says that we made contact with alien life, they'll believe it, and that'll put them on the same page with all the New Agers. Now that's what's going to put them all on the same page to usher in this whole scientific dictatorship. This, you know.
Well,
I think they're going to. Go ahead, Bill.
The thing I'd have to say about aliens, okay, I'm not going to say that aliens don't exist because I think that would be a crazy thing to say.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying they're using a fake alien scare to try to scare the public into their agenda.
I think part of their fake alien scare, to be honest with you, I think they're actually going to use a genetic clone that, they've literally probably practiced cloning people so much to the point where they're going to look all kinds of awkward. And they'll probably, finally get a genetic clone that's fairly intelligent and will look like a cyclops. And they'll introduce them to the world. I'm not saying that there's not aliens in here. I'm just saying this would be something they would have total control over because they wouldn't have total control over an alien, So I think if they're going to have total control over something, an alien that they want to introduce to the world, I think it would be a clone. It would be a clone that just doesn't look right, and it would be good enough to sell to the world.
Yeah, exactly, And I think what's going to happen is they're going to use that as a moniker because, this we are one hive mind, right? People are going to come together in a collective submission to authority, to the world government, right? And so what's going to happen is they're going to have this event that different people from different belief systems will be able to perceive it differently. Right, like the Christians will say, "Oh, it's Jesus coming back," and the Muslims will say, "Oh, it's Muhammad coming back," and everybody will say, the alien people will say it's the aliens or whatever, and it'll be an event which different people will perceive it differently. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to mark the beginning of the end times. The new age.
Well,
and they're going to try to usher everybody into one cauldron from there. I mean, so
how do you think the dating scene will play out then? I mean, are these women going to chase after the bad boy alien?
Oh, yeah. Of course
Yeah,
of course they are. Of course they are. In our world, yeah, of course they are. They'll put the alien in a romper and have him on GQ magazine.
Well, you got to look at predictive programming, man. For generations now, we've been seeing in alien movies where people are sleeping with aliens like ain't no thing, right? But, you got to think, if that was realistic, okay, even if it's another intelligent bipedal species like humans, it's still not a human being. It's still a completely different species. Its psychology, its neurology, everything about it is different than us. There's no guarantee that it's even safe to sleep with that damn thing. In fact, you're not even supposed to even be able to be attracted to that thing at all because it's not even in your fucking species. I mean, you should be about as attracted to that damn alien as you are to a fucking dog.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate to disagree with you. I'm just saying I don't know about that. I've seen some of these women out here doing horses and guys doing horses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for real. So I mean, our world is, that's the problem. I think we know this. We understand, what's going to be presented and what could happen. And I think we all have to start admitting that there's probably not much we could do to stop it because there's
really not. That's the big thing. Every time I try to wake people up, they say, "Oh, well, you can't do anything to stop it, so why worry about it?" Okay, well, in that case, why even have an opinion at all then? I mean, if that's going to be, because at that point they've already admitted willful ignorance. I can't stop it, but I can learn from it.
Yeah, you can stop. You can always learn. You can always learn, and I think it will still keep it. As a little bit, aware from everything else. But I think we know that the humanity is just so dumbed down that they'll fall for almost any bullshit that comes across it, And I almost, that's where I started thinking some of these false flags are because they're making some of them so ridiculous and so obvious. Are they doing it as a test to see what they can eventually get away with?
I'm thinking, here's a theory on it now. I'm not saying it's a concrete theory, but I'm thinking they make it so obvious to people who are critical enough to see through it as a way to try to rile us up and instigate us, right? Because they know that the sheep are going to just uncritically follow anything, but they know there's going to be a pocket of people out there who are going to see through it, and they want to try to instigate us.
Well, it might also be to see, how can they maybe try something to get the awake people to believe it too? You never know what these people are trying. They're always testing something. Even though there's a lot of agendas, we know with these false flags, it's not just one agenda. It's 100 different agendas, but, it's good that we decipher some of the agendas to, keep ourselves alert,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sean, were you going to say something there?
Oh no, I was just going to say, I thought they do these false flags just for comedy, just to laugh at us.
No, it's never just for comedy, man. It's always because they have an ulterior agenda. There's something they want out of it.
I think he's right, though. One of the agendas is comedy because they are. I have a feeling they're always laughing in our faces. So I think.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're laughing it up, but
yeah.
But that's not the reason why they're doing it. I mean, that's just an added bonus for them.
I understand that, but if you think about it, they're laughing at us because Sandy Hook is a good example of that. You mean they shot up a classroom full of kids that wasn't there, and then they took the dead kids and they put them in the Super Bowl and had them sing for you.
Yeah, they want to. And it's some of it, and some of it gets ridiculous, just like the Kalamazoo River shooter, and I couldn't believe a lot of people locally actually believed it. The story they gave the news, and you can still look it up on Wikipedia. This is what it says. It says that the shooter's excuse was that Satan talked to him through his Uber app, showing up as the Eastern Star. And that's what it says, word for word on Wikipedia. So. Who the hell is dumb enough to believe that?
It's interesting they bring up the Eastern Star, man. It's interesting because there's so much occult involved in all this shit. And
the Eastern Star is the Masonic women. That's what the name of their group is.
Most people are naive enough to think, and this is the excuse you hear all the time. They couldn't keep it secret long enough. They would get out, okay? So let me get this right. If that's the case, then it would have never happened in Germany or in Russia or in Italy or in any of these other places that has ever happened in the world because it would have gotten out before they were able to. But wait a minute. It did happen in all those places. So what does that fucking tell you?
Well, that's the thing is people don't understand. It did get out. How do you think we're talking about it? So it did get out.
Yeah, they're putting it right here in front of our face. They're talking about right in front of our face, and people ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
Well, they always said that they were going to tell us what they were going to do, and then they were going to do it, and that we would do nothing about it. Well, they're right, ain't they?
Yeah,
Well, that's right. I mean, it goes right. I mean, they did say there's nothing. We're going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do it, and then you're not going to do anything about it. And
that's part of their occult religion when they do that, man. They in their occult religion, they require consent from their slaves to rule over them. It's part of their ego indoctrination. You see, that's why they require you to vote, because when you vote, you're giving them consent to rule over you.
Well, yeah, that's why I tell people, don't vote. Don't vote. I don't vote. And I constantly say, I'll even put up something on Facebook. I do not consent. I do not consent.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who you vote for anyway. They're going to put in office who they want to put in anyway, and they're both going to do the same thing. So, what is the point of voting?
And just like you said, Sean, here's the thing about that, right? Okay, even if we did have a say, which we don't, but even if we did have a say between these candidates, right, none of them are on our side. They're selected, not elected. They're selected. Those who are going to go along with the program are the ones that are selected. Those who are going to buck the program are taken out. It's like the mafia, bro.
Well, they are. They hate people that, are resistors. Because really, that's what we are. We're considered the resistors. We're the people that just don't mindlessly follow along with the fluff and stuff.
You know what I've always wondered? How come a common person like a janitor would say, never ran for president? How come it's always a politician or this rich person or this connected person? It's never just a common person who works as a warehouse worker, a plumber. You ever notice that?
Well, because they would actually do a good job. They want somebody doing a good job.
Sean.
Well, that too. Here's another thing to bear in mind, right? And we've seen this with Ronald Reagan. We've seen it very big now with Donald Trump.
Okay, I could do that to you, Warren, but I was trying to talk and you talked over me. Okay, I was trying to tell Sean here to go look up the bloodline, find out that the majority of all presidents are family. They're related one way or another, bloodline.
But here's what I'm saying, man. I mean, we've seen this with Donald Trump. We've seen this with Ronald Reagan as far back as the 80s. We've seen this with Jesse Ventura, who was the governor of Minnesota, right? What they're conditioning people to do is to dumb people down. You've seen a glimpse of that in Idiocracy, where they can have movie stars and fucking like cartoon characters, like fucking gangster rappers and shit. Like eventually Jay-Z's probably going to run for fucking president.
Oh God.
I think, Warren, if we're going to have cartoons, then I want Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
I'd rather have.
Well, I always said that if they went to the White House, and I've said that before, if they picked out one of the cleaning people or the doorman and put them in office, they would still do a better job than any president we've ever had.
Yeah.
They live
well, here's the thing. They put an average person with honest intentions into office, and there's no guarantee they're going to go along with the program, right? If they don't go along with the program, and there's a good chance they won't because they're not being brought up and indoctrinated into it, they're going to take them out, man. See, that's the thing you got to bear in mind with all these people who become politicians and become presidents or become prime ministers or whatever, their countries or whatever. They're vetted from the time they're children, long before they're introduced to the public. They have these organizations out here, right? In America, it's the Council on Foreign Relations, right? And every other continent is government. Like in Europe, it's the Royal Institute of International Affairs. And what these think tanks do...
From what I'm seeing,
what these think tanks do is they raise them from the time they're children for their role in the state.
I was thinking maybe that's why the president makes such little money, because they're already rich before they come in office anyway.
Yeah,
and not only that, as being president makes you a lot more money. You think, Trump spent a lot of money on being president. I'm sure he didn't, but if he did, the amount of money he's going to have after it is just going to double.
And you got to bear in mind, man, Trump's probably the richest president we've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's only going to get richer. I mean, look at Obama. I mean, he pretty much literally never had a job except for being a senator, and only 4 years. Yeah, the only 4 years he was senator. He only made probably no more than $500,000, and now he's he's got a $50 million home. He's got $50 million worth of homes. Was it a $20 million home in Hawaii, another $15 million home in Dubai, and then another $5 million home in Washington.
Well, and then on top of that, right, is almost like a repeat of what it was with the Bushes and the Clintons, right? Like, bear this in mind, like. You haven't seen the end of the Obama line, man. They're going to be involved in politics for the next several generations. Eventually his wife's going to try to run for president, or his daughter's going to run for president, or, just like it was with the Clintons, man, just like it was with the Bushes.
Maybe Obama's wife will run for president. I mean, that'll be our first tranny.
Yeah,
you beat me to it.
I don't think we're going to have another president. I know we say this every time, but we might have one more. But I think they're pushing the New World agenda too fast, and I think they're going to speed it up, and I think they're going to skip over something.
That's very well possible.
I don't think this World War III and all of this type stuff's going to happen in our lifetime. I just think it'll be more smaller type events.
I think you're right.
I don't think shit will hit the fan for at least another century or two. So I think we can just forget.
It might not be a century. It might be, but it could be up to 100 years tops. But
the transformation was 100 years.
or even if it did hit in my lifetime, I'll be like 90 years old and I'll be, in a nursing home, too drugged up to care anyway. So.
I think there is.
In World War III, anyhow. I think that's what you've been in since 9/11.
Yeah. You're right. Hey, well, the problem with everybody thinking it's going to take too long, I think, is with the singularity. Many people say we're not going to hit singularity for another 10, 15 years or whatever. I think we already hit singularity, and they're being quiet about it. And I think there's no possible, singularity, where literally where computers can think as fast as human beings, and they can literally replace a human being. So we're already at that point. So with singularity, I think the computers are already going to be, somewhat taking over. So their setup, the computer setup, is not going to allow for humans to go on being, because here's the thing: any rational computer thinking process would happen two ways. If there was a dirty person behind it, would make sure that they had total control, or if the computer went off on its own rational thinking would cause it to believe that humans were, nothing but a problem, so therefore it would have to take over itself. So either way,
I don't think a computer could ever possibly be that smart. It would have to have chemicals.
They are.
It would have to have some kind of. Oh well, maybe we're talking about two different things. I'm thinking you're talking about like a robot or something.
Wait, would they have
artificial intelligence, AI, man, nanotech. Look it up.
Yeah. The D-Wave computers, which are actually, they're not even digital computers. They're actually analog computers. And if they're analog, that means they're organic, okay? So literally these computers are going so fast, they're going faster than time. Now, if they go faster than time, theoretically they're going into the future and being able to draw things out of the future, which is scary, but in theory, this is actually happening at the current time. So these D-Wave computers have already done that, and now what they call the Sentinel, World Sentinel program, where they actually have a node for every individual in a computer on the computer, and the computer can literally run 7 billion situations for each person, instantaneously. So they already know what people are going to do before they're going to do it. And from what we understand with these new D-Wave computers.
Kind of like that movie Minority Report or something like that.
Yeah, we're beyond that.
And here's the thing about it, man. Here's the thing about it, right? This is going to coincide, of course, with China's going to lead this revolution because China's going to be set up to be the new empire, right? They're going to lead the transhumanist revolution, which is going to integrate man with machine, which is going to destroy humanity as we know it. Okay? And of course, they already got these brain chips. They're going to sell to the public and all this other shit.
Well, that's
What's
his name? Elon Musk is saying we need to start putting neural implants into people to prevent artificial intelligence from taking over. Now, here's the problem. I don't always trust Elon Musk because it's Elon Musk and he's been stealing money from this country like crazy with his SpaceX program. But anyways, the thought of a neural lace, in theory, might be as much as nobody wants to do it, it might only be the only answer to combat AI. But I'm also thinking that maybe they're scared that they think they need to combat AI because AI is actually doing the right thing. Because in theory,
here's the problem with it. Here's the problem with it right here, man. Right, this is all about governmental control, right? These brain chips, and they're already working on this in Yale University. John Taylor Gatto has written articles about it, among others. Okay, these chips, not only are they going to be able to read people's private thoughts and make them public, and I've said this before on this show, these chips, bro, are going to be able to electronically implant thoughts into people's minds and censor thoughts out of people's minds. And they're furthermore going to be able to pretty much hijack people's bodies, right? To be able to send a signal to your brain, make involuntary movements to make you do things you don't want to do. So you're pretty much a prisoner in your own body.
Well, I think they've already. Okay, I was just going to say, I think they've already been practicing with that because if you think about the Batman shooting in Aurora, Colorado, and you think about the person they claim did it, I think they've already been toying around with that.
Well, that was the program he was working on. And that may be one of the reasons why they were telling us that he did it. You know, he was working for the Salk Institute. Now, the Salk Institute has been involved with MK Ultra since the very beginning.
Yeah.
And the Salk Institute is receiving money from the Clinton Foundation. I think it was like $20-something million last year. And they're also receiving money from, they're actually giving money to the owner, the old owner of Gateway Computers. Okay, now the old owner of Gateway Computers, his business partner was Rick Snyder, the governor of Michigan. Now, of course, Rick Snyder being the governor of Michigan, we always know all the governors of Michigan have always been involved in the MK Ultra program. So I think Rick Snyder was being paid for what they were doing with the MK Ultra program via the Clinton Foundation and the Salk Institute.
Yeah.
But they've been working on those. You know what? And those neural influence wouldn't surprise me. If you see some of the behavior of these politicians, sometimes, you know, we always had shitty politicians, but in the recent years, I've never seen them behave so irrationally, so just bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten almost cartoonish. Like, especially if you look at like, obviously, Donald Trump's probably been about the loudest president we've had in a long time. But I mean, if you look at all these liberals and shit like over in Europe, like fucking Merkel, the Prime Minister of Germany, and all this shit, man, like. The shit they're supporting is so fucking cartoonishly fucking fake and immature. I mean, you got to think these are the leaders of nations, bro. I mean,
no, it doesn't make sense.
You know,
I mean, at least when I was a kid, I mean, the politicians, they were so slick in the way they talked. They were, you know, they can get themselves out of just about anything. And now they're just like bumbling idiots, and nobody notices it. And that's what's really scary. I mean, I can remember days of, you know, of just like these politicians that they carried themselves very well. You know, they
I don't know. Maybe they're like.
Well, see, here's the thing. People recognize. I mean, you're allowed to talk about a politician being an imbecile. What you're not allowed to do in this country is actually suggest that they might actually have bad intentions.
Yeah.
You know, so who's the real idiots here? Even they might be acting like a bumbling bunch of buffoons. They're playing a role. They're playing an act, and apparently it's working pretty well. So who's the real buffoons here? Is the masses? It's the idiots? It's the blue pill people that keep eating the shit up?
Yeah.
It's just when people used to say, back when Bush was office, he's stupid. He's stupid. Well, if he's so stupid, then why do y'all keep falling for his fucking shit? Why y'all like, he would never turn against you? And I mean,
well, come on, you know Bush is stupid. He's so stupid he's buying up all the water right out from underneath him.
Yeah, you know.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Daddy's telling him what to do, but you know, the problem is when you see people like that are involved. I mean, we know the Bush family was always involved in moving drugs to America. We know they've always been involved with oil, and all of a sudden Saudi Arabia sells off all their oil things. You know, they're selling off all their oil transportation ships. They sold off everything. So they're switching their economy. I mean, it's well known that they switched it from an oil-based economy to what they call a tourist economy, which is just stupid because nobody goes to Saudi Arabia at the fucking desert. You know, so
yeah,
that's bizarre in its own right. And then when you see these people buying up all the water, it scares the living shit out of it, because you know these are not people that should have something so important. You know, oil is one thing, but when it comes to water, this is a whole different level. This is a whole different level of evil. Having people that are in the drug business controlling our water. You know, we can't have that. That's something we just cannot have.
Yeah, I mean, because you can survive without oil, man, but you're not going to survive without water, man. I mean,
exactly.
You'll survive longer without food than you will without water.
Yeah.
We need good clean water. I mean, just for anything, for sanitary purposes, for health, for animal.
So let's say they do
this,
Jerry. Let's say they outlaw water, right? Or they take up all the water supply. Here's the thing about this, okay? That means that they're going to have to militarize the coast the coastlines everywhere, because if they're going to outlaw water, right, they're going to take up all the water. People won't go to the coast. They're going to go to the ocean. They're going to start taking their own water and filtering it out, right? Well, the government ain't going to allow that to happen.
Well, we already see it being militarized. I mean, look at Florida. Look at Texas. Look at all that coast. They figured out. They know how they can move everybody. I mean, if they can constantly cause devastation along the coastline, all they need to do on the West Coast is cause one major earthquake that freaking crumbles part of the San Francisco into the ocean. Everybody's moving.
Yeah.
So they.
Oh, yeah. You know what I've been wondering? How come they've never used HARP to do anything with the New Madrid fault line to affect the Midwest here?
I think they have,
because hurricanes.
When I was living in Michigan, they've never had an earthquake, and we had a 4.0 earthquake where I live, and I had freaking nails coming out of my drywall, and it was right through the paint and everything. I mean, it shook my whole house right off the foundation, a little bit. Now that area never had an earthquake that was known, for like 100 years or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden it had this big earthquake. So I think they are. They're either doing that or they're being caused from digging underground.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm surprised you haven't had one up, your way yet. But I think that's just because that area is probably really not prone to earthquakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably only a matter of time. I mean, I guess I can't put a timetable on it, but I mean, like, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to happen. I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen, but.
So you live in Wisconsin, right?
Huh?
Yeah. I mean, well,
yeah, I remember looking at a map a couple of years ago, like showing the United States underwater after a major earthquake on the New Madrid fault line. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. And I think I remember this part of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Chicago, Illinois, and on downward, being completely underwater. So I think we're still part of the major earthquake zone too.
Well, and definitely California, man. Have you seen that? You've seen that in predictive program and all of the movies, like in movie AI, where and people have been saying California's going to break off forever, man. Eventually, it probably will.
Warren, hold on, guys. Is that John with us? Welcome to the show, John.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone going?
Hey, John.
Yeah,
hey.
How you doing, bro?
Yeah, not bad. Just lost a little track of time.
John. Hey, John. I wanted to introduce you to Jerry. Jerry's with us tonight for a little bit, and I wanted to introduce you to him.
Hi there, John.
Jerry, how are you?
Good.
That's good. So we're talking about floodings and the fault lines tonight?
Yeah, I'm still not sold on the whole agenda of the America's getting put under. For a while I was thinking about the pole shift and everything else, but here's my problem. This is what me and Bill were discussing was, now why are all these important people buying up aquifers if they're worried about a major earthquake? Because an earthquake would totally devastate an aquifer, so it would make no sense to be buying up water and selling oil.
Yeah.
Well,
it doesn't make sense.
I also hear stories about people of the higher echelons buying property overseas, which could contradict.
Well, they are.
So,
but they're buying aquifers. Like the Bush family bought 164 million acres of aquifer in Paraguay, and they bought another, I forgot how many hundreds of thousands of acres out in New Zealand that was an aquifer. So they're buying land, but they're buying specific land.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, like an example, just hold on 1 second. Just one example, okay? They use a grant. So if they have some disaster happen in an area where an aquifer happen, even if it's a false flag, this community now qualifies for a grant for tons of money. Now they use that grant to get their hands on that aquifer.
So why would
Here's another thing to think
feeling...
about, too, going back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, Jerry, about the transhumanist thing and the technology and stuff. I don't mean to backtrack to another topic like that. But here's another thing to think about, though, man. Okay? Think about this for a moment. China has been buying real estate and been buying up land here in America for quite some time. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, think about this there. China is going to be the next big empire, right? So, okay, once the American military decides to go full fucking Hitler or whatnot and decides to, turn on its people, there's going to be a portion of the military and the police who aren't going to go along with that program, who are going to go against it, right? Okay, so what that means is, especially once that happens, America is not going to have the same economic power because it's going to fall from its status that it is right now. So the military is going to be factionalized, right? It's not going to be nearly as strong as it was, which is going to leave all this technology out on the table for the taking, right? And then here comes the Chinese military to sweep in and take it for themselves. So all this military technology the U.S. military's got right now is going to end up in the hands of the Chinese.
Yeah. Well, Sean had a question. So, Sean, if you remember what you wanted to say, go ahead.
Oh, all I was going to say was, okay, you guys are talking about these people that are buying up land and buying water and all of this stuff. Okay. Can we really prove any of that is happening, or is that just to scare us so that we come on this radio show and talk about it, even though...
No.
How do we know we're not being played?
Well, I'm reading U.S. News right now. I'm reading U.S. News right now talking about China buying up land in America. And because I want to see where they're buying land. So they are. They spent... directed into $22 trillion in equity marketplace. Yeah, they're buying a shitload of American land.
We have one more caller, guys. 904. You're on the show.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight?
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on? All right, I'm Tarhaka out of Jacksonville, Florida. We just got hit with some stuff down here. I was just tuning in and listening to you guys, and I thought I'd call in and join you.
Well, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
All right. I have a question, man. Do you guys think that the recent storm starting from Houston, Texas, and going backwards over here toward Florida, where I am, is a natural occurrence, or do you think it's a man-made occurrence? I don't know if you've already asked that question tonight. I'm just
Here's
asking.
the thing about that, man. I don't know. I can't say for certain. What I can tell you is that even if it did happen naturally initially, the government's going to use it to exploit it for their own benefit. But the government does have weapons that can create these kind of things.
Well, I can tell you this just from looking, just from what research I've done into it. Okay, you're up. You said in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah. So was you there when a storm came through? Then did you stay or did you evacuate?
No, I sit where I was. I'm still sitting, and we weathered the storm. Didn't get any flooding. I'm suspended between the St. Johns River and Trout River. I got wind damage, but they had waist-deep water at the river downtown, which is to my right, but the Trout River only flooded going backwards away from me.
Did the St. John flood?
Yeah, it did flood, and the water was waist-deep, and they are having to evacuate the what was the old Independent Life building, was the Wells Fargo building now, and I think when the people get out of there, I don't think they're going to be coming back, because this thing here took out the first floor and the places down there where people had stuff stored. It took it completely out.
Well, here's something to bear in mind here, because
I want to ask him a few questions, okay? Because I've been doing a lot of looking at this, and we got a lot of conflicting reports, okay? And we got some stuff suggesting that the storm that you guys had down there, that the wind speeds wasn't even up to hurricane force. Now, I lived in Florida for a long time, and I know that even if it's under hurricane force, it's going to topple trees because you can't. The ground is soft down there. You can't even build a basement because you run into water.
Well, I can only tell you what I experienced. I was born in 1953, and the only reason I bought my house is because they told me the date that the house was made, and it was made before Dora. It withstood Dora, so I bought the house. So down here where I'm at and where I'm sitting at, it blew the shingles off the roof, and it also snapped trees, and we got, right now, we got less than 200 people, just less than 200 people in my county that don't have lights, but we got other small counties of people who don't have lights right now into the thousands. Yeah. So you're right, there's conflicts in what's being broadcast, and so it does pay to have some previous information and to do some research on your own.
Now, see, here's my thing on this, man, okay? Here's where I'm at on this. You said that there ain't going to be no people coming back to Florida. There might not be. I don't know. You might be right on that, okay?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
He didn't say
what I said
I thought
is
you said that.
in this building, in this particular building, based on what I
in your
see.
particular building. Oh, okay. I misunderstood you then.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Because what I'm thinking, man, is this, man. I mean, I don't know what's going to come at the place. They're going to get a place up and running again. I don't know if they are or not. They might, but see, in the past 15 years, not even that long, this has happened before. Like if you look at like Hurricane Katrina, right? When Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, okay. As far as I know, we still don't know whatever happened with those people.
Okay.
You know, as far as I know. I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me.
The same thing is occurring in Houston, Texas. I lived in Houston, Texas in 1986. And coming from Florida, moving to Houston in 1986, I'm coming to, in my opinion, back in 1986, and this is all I knew then. I'm 64 years old now, but what I knew back then in 1986 is that Florida or the East Coast suffered from hurricanes. When we go into Texas and going back to California, we're talking about tornadoes. That's all I knew. So when I got into Houston and I moved there and I lived there, I had a habit of when I walk down the street, I look at the drains. And what I seen in the drains was like the drainage system where you had massive amounts of dirt almost up to the top, so that I knew for a fact that if it was a hurricane that come there was nowhere for the water to go. But keep in mind, I'm not thinking hurricane, I'm thinking tornado, and I actually experienced one. But when they told me the other day that Harvey was going into Houston, I knew for a fact that it would be devastating because I left Houston in 1989 and come back to Florida, and I was correct. It is devastating.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
Hey, Bill, I found it.
Yeah.
I found it. It's the aquifers, China. It is the aquifers, China. I just got to post. I got to save it before I lose it. But an article talking about 100. What is it? How many billions of gallons of aquifer water? 100 billion gallons of aquifer water is being exported to China. They're buying up farmlands that are sitting on aquifers.
And bear in mind, Gary, how easy it is for China to break America right now. All they got to do is stop trading with us.
And that's what they're talking about. They're coming here. They're buying up all. They're growing food here. They're shipping it to China, and they're destroying what's left over. They drain out the aquifers, and then they pollute the land, and then they just move on. Also, and deal with farm. It's unbelievable. But Chinese will own now one out of every 4 pigs raised in the United States, and that's since 2013. So that means it's even more now.
Yeah.
They own 30% of the estimated market. That's unbelievable. We're getting screwed. And nobody's even paying attention to it.
Yeah, nobody even knows.
Wow.
Nobody's even aware, man. Like I said, man, China's got our number right now, bro. I'm not going to sit there and say, I'm not going to sit there and blame all the Chinese, say all Chinese are bad. No, because I'm sure they're not. I mean, I'm talking about on a world stage, man. But right now, China's got our number, bro. They're killing America's, following America's waterways by discharge 3.6 million tons of pollutants just in North Carolina. Yeah.
And nobody's paying. They're all worried about signing these carbon credits and this and that, while they're allowing China to come in here and just destroy everything, and nobody's even paying attention to it. Wow. Wow. So, and then they're fighting for way. And then the rich people that are left over are fighting for whatever aquifers that are left, and then they'll probably, get it at a good price, and they're basically just taking them over because they're basically not even paying for them. Then they're going to sell them to China, and they'll make a fortune. So that's what it is, Bill. It's not just that they're wanting to do it to keep it. I'm going to make another prediction here, man. Right when America goes down, all these countries that depend on America for export and for trade and all this other stuff, right, they're going to fall off too. And when they go poor, they're going to look for someone else to trade with. And who's even going to trade with? They're going to trade with China.
Yeah. That's nice. Nice that you found that, Jerry, because that answers a lot of questions for us for what we've been finding and seeing.
Yeah. Well, why they're taking it. It's not just, that they're taking it, but now we know why they're taking it. I don't know if it's because, but from what I'm looking at, it's explaining how, they're buying all this up. And not just that, I just read an article, too, that they're one of the main leases in the new World Trade Center tower, China. They're basically controlling that tower.
Yeah.
And so they're seeing, and with the way our SDR rights got switched over to China, all these wealthy people know that China's where the money's going to be. So if China's got all the money and they're, the ones that are controlling the world with the monetary system, they're just buying stuff that they can sell to them. That's ridiculous.
Here's another question for you, Jerry. Do you suppose that the Chinese government has already infiltrated the American government? Because the reason I say that, think about this.
I do. Because the Columbia University and everything else, they're all tied to communists. If you look at Obama's history,
the Western Empire is turning communist, man. Political correctness is communism, right? If you look at like all these organizations like Black Lives Matter and shit, man, they're Maoist organizations. They practice a Maoist philosophy.
They're all communist. And if you look at like Obama's parents, they were Chinese spies, and they were all suspected during the House Committee on Un-American Activities. His grandfather was, called in front of the freaking House American Activities Committee. So therefore, that makes him, a Chinese spy. And so, nobody listened when I was sitting there telling people that Obama's a Chinese spy. Same with Hillary Clinton. They're all Marxist Chinese communist spies. They all have ties to China. And if you look at it, there's a major flow through Columbia University. Columbia University is basically just a Chinese communist college. And if you look at the University of Chicago, the same thing. And I've been saying China's going to inch their way in, and they don't need to bring no military in. What do they need to bring a military in? When the monetary system and the SDR rights last year.
Once the monetary system goes and America's headed to chaos and the military's not as strong as it used to be anymore, it's broken off, they will send their military in to gather up that technology. I'll bet you that.
Nobody listens. It's already gone. Okay, people don't understand this. It is the IMF, they use special drawing rights. the whole world used to back their monetary system off the dollar, a system of like the dollar. And what happened recently is it switched from, I think it was 90% a dollar, then like 10% China, to 70% China, 20% Russia, and like 10% a dollar. So basically what happened is they took over the monetary system throughout the world. And this is a major issue, and people don't understand this, that our system is already gone. And trying to explain to people this, unless we use some kind of other system and cancel the central system. In other words, the only thing that would stop China from taking out, from literally running this country is by getting rid of the Federal Reserve. We have to permanently end the Federal Reserve right away. But there's nobody even talking about it, so it's too late. I honestly think it's too late because there's not even anybody talking about it.
And I don't think it will do, I don't think it will do that much if we got. I mean, it might a little in the short term, but in the long term, man, they're trying to crash the money system before they bring in the New World Order, anyways, man. They're going to try to put all your money on that shit.
That's what people don't understand. They don't have to. They don't have to crash the system because. Literally, they can go on for another 10 years.
Well, they might not have to crash the system, but they're going to crash the dollar, man. I mean, and all the money's going to be in that shit.
They don't need to because because China's holding our debt, and people will assume that it's actually American money, but it's not. It's American money based on the Chinese yen, and people don't understand how that works, so people won't even see it happening.
Yeah, they would do it right under your nose. You wouldn't even
do it right under our nose.
Yeah. But they've been talking for the past 2,000 years, ever since when they wrote their Bible, talking about coming in a cashless society. And, of course, it was all planned that way because it was a business plan. So, I mean, I already know they're going to do away with the money system. But, at the end of the day, they're just going to bring us onto another plantation.
They're already slowly doing away with it anyhow because people are more and more are using debit cards and credit cards than they are cash.
Yeah.
That's why I try to use cash every time.
Yeah, but it would still be done under your nose because they could still do just what Jerry was talking about, okay? And you would not know it even if you're using your debit card or what have you. Because they're already to the point where now most companies are direct depositing and you no longer get a paycheck.
It's already done. I don't think people understand that. With these SDI rights, I mean, our dollar it's basically being backed by the Chinese yen. So in other words, we can't. That's why if people ever talk about war with China or something like that, it's stupid because. People don't understand that this failure of China is the failure of us.
Yeah, we depend on China more than we need China more than China needs us right now.
Yeah, because what happens is if they try to call in their debt, what would happen is it would cause a dysfunction in the value of their yen. So they actually do need us because we hold so much of their debt. We cannot pay China back. The biggest mistake we could ever do is pay China back. And by trading them land and other things in equity is a big mistake. And people don't understand that, by trading some of this farmland or whatever, if they're, government repossessions or whatever they are of our farmland, and that's being traded as equity against our debt that we owe to China, that's a big mistake because we need to keep as much debt as possible with China to keep them hanging. Because if we start paying off their debt, they'll move on to another country that they'll push their products at a very low cost, and then we would just fall off the map.
And further expand on that, man. Like all these countries, as I was saying a little bit earlier, man, all these countries that depend on America right now. When America falls off, right, and they go down with America, and they're going to look for somebody new to trade with. Who do you think they're going to trade with? They're going to start trading with China. So now China's going to have all these other people that they're doing business with, that they're holding their debts. And I mean, it's going to be the same shit. I mean, but it's going to be like, all these countries now. I mean, like right now, we're used to America being the top world player, the top dog, everybody wants to trade with, everybody wants to do economy with, all this and shit. That's not going to be the case. China's going to be that person now. China's going to be that country. And we're going to be a third world shithole.
I want to get John's opinion. I haven't heard him. So, John, what's your opinion on what you're going to talk about?
Well, before I get into China, Bill, you were talking before about how more Americans using debit cards and credit cards now, which is interestingly enough, when I was over there in Europe, in Germany and Italy, apparently over there, at least in those countries that I can't think of, they actually still prefer cash over credit cards. In fact, they still have that motto, cash is king over there. So I wonder how that whole cashless society is going to play out in Europe eventually. You know, it's something interesting to think about.
Something to bear in mind, too, John, man, is, okay, they've already introduced the euro, right, along with the European Union, which the people of Europe were completely against, but it didn't matter. They did it anyways, right? Yeah. Now, they've brought in the NAFTA superhighway, which people were against, but they did it anyways, right? And they've already got the AMRO ready to go, right? Because going into the New World Order, they want to have, like, you have like your European Union, your African Union, your Pacific Union, your Australian Union, your North American, your South American, whatnot, right? So when you look at it, man, I mean, it seems to me, obviously at some point the dollar is going to crash, man, because why would they be introduced to all these other currencies?
Well, I don't think they don't need to crash the dollar. What I'm saying, if they do crash the dollar, it's more or less just to bringing more of their New World agenda. But as far as the economy goes, there's no need to crash the American dollar. There's no need to. The only agenda would be for a power play and, and killing people.
Well, even if they don't crash it, they're going to transfer us off of it.
I don't think you understand. The money's already gone. All right, they set up a new gold exchange in China. It's already people. That's why I've been yelling about this for 2 years or for a year, as I've been trying to explain to people. People think that that our system is still our system. No, our system is gone, and people do not understand this. Our system is gone.
I think I can explain it for you, Jerry. At one time before Trick Dicky was here, the dollar was backed by gold. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the dollar is backed by the yen, China's money.
Basically.
Yeah.
And that's what the IMF did this. But here's the thing. That's only because we're still tied to the IMF system, which is the Federal Reserve. And now if we can leave the central banking system and the Federal Reserve, we can literally – people don't understand, because – we could write off our debt. Would that piss off China? Sure, it would. Would it? But the problem is if we did that, what it would do is piss off the very wealthy people because they could use this to play with everything. Now, if we did and basically just started printing our own money without going through the central bank or the Federal Reserve, we Americans would be instantly rich because, in theory, they are on a different monetary system that's holding a shitload of debt, and we just wiped out all our debt, and America is still a power player out there, and we would instantly be rich overnight. Everybody in this country would be instantly, knocked up a good 10-20% in their income, and people don't understand that. All we have to do is switch to, our own printing. And we already print our own money. We just pay the Federal Reserve and the central bank interest rate for our own money to be printed, which we don't need to be doing. All we need to do is kick out the Federal Reserve. It's not that hard.
But if all our money is already gone, then why are we still getting? I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not educated enough on it, but like, if all the money is already gone, then why are we still getting money? I mean, from our deposits.
It's still borrowing. We're saying, you see, what they're doing is, in the Federal Reserve, they're basically printing out money. We're borrowing money that we can't pay for, okay? And we've been doing that for a long time, and they're still letting it ride, okay? And there's only two things that can happen. Like you said, the system they can crash our system, all right? Or they can, basically say, hey, we're just switching to the Chinese yen. Or we can actually get the balls to kick out the Federal Reserve And like I said, that's why I think we're going to see a lot of this New World Order. I think many people talked about China is going to be the New World Order, China and Russia. Despite how everybody thinks Putin
and India.
To save us. Yeah, well, India is more of a test country. They've already moved to this try to do this cashless thing, and they're fighting that like hell. But India is going to be a power player too, because they base their money off of personal power. Most production is going to move to India. You're going to start seeing most of your cars and everything else produced in India pretty soon.
Yeah, on a global scale, yeah. But here in America, most of our production is going to be moving down to Mexico, man. Because once they bring in the North American Union, they went to the sweatshops. Right now, most of our goods are produced in sweatshops in China and India and places like that, right? That's not cost efficient enough for the elites. They want the stuff in America that's been imported from America closer to home. So what they're going to do is they're going to set sweatshops up in Mexico.
They're going to open sweatshops here. That's why they spent $2 million China to build a car manufacturer in the Midwest there. They're getting ready to turn America into a sweatshop. And, it's not so much that they needed to collapse the dollar. They just needed to stranglehold it so people, are really on thin ice, which will work just as bad. They can't see that. That's why I think people, they want to warn, scare everybody, and more fear porn about a total collapse. Because the elites know with a total collapse could ensue chaos enough that would anger people to go after them. They need to put people on a tight hook where they're just getting by so that they can have somebody come in and save them, and it looks nice, and there wouldn't be that bad of a horrible transition where the rich aren't really totally out losing. Because the rich don't want to lose money. They don't want to go through
Can I ask a question, gentlemen? Gentlemen, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This is a question I have. I've been listening for a minute. Could you all please tell me what is it that we are trying to save and preserve?
Our Constitution.
Humanity, basically.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's humanity.
All right. Okay. Well, speaking from I'm a man. I'm an Egyptian.
Yeah.
I'm a Moor. I'm an Egyptian. That's my nationality. Now,
our first president was a Moor.
If they wrote the Constitution based on what I've seen, and I'm just going to tell you about the window that I was looking out of. It was my understanding that people who look like me were in slavery. And based on what I've seen, the people that created that document, it didn't appear to me, because I know where I am, but it didn't appear to me that they was putting this thing together to benefit anybody other than themselves, the one who are writing it. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, correct.
That's not exactly true, because here's the thing: is it got misconstrued after it was written. You got to remember John Hanson, and you should look John Hanson up. John Hanson was a Moor.
You know exactly who he is.
He was our first black president. All right? I don't care what anybody says. When you're a president of the Constitutional Congress, you're a president. That's how that works. He was our first American president. All right? Now, he was also a part of writing this. Of course, he was also a slave owner. But, that's how it happened in those days. It wasn't just whites that owned slaves. There were also blacks that owned slaves. But I think what happened is when we got closer to the Civil War, and there's always even been a lot of truth about the Civil War that hasn't come out correctly, I think things got really misconstrued, and the Constitution was not a perfect document, but it's actually probably, if you look throughout history, the best written document for a government that there's.
Here's the thing, man. Here's where I'm going to have to slightly disagree with you on, Matt, is that if you go back, Francis Bacon was a 33rd degree Freemason, okay? And he lived in a time before America was founded where people were traveling on horses and chariots on cobblestone roads and riding by candlelights, right? And he wrote a book called The New Atlantis, okay? And in this book, he predicted the founding of America. Now, how did he know this? Because he knew this because he was involved with the planners at the top, and he knew what the game plan was. So he knew what was going to come down beforehand, right? Because all this is scripted, man. So when you look at it, man, you think about this, man. America, this has been going on for thousands of years. America is not the first country, not the only country that's had a constitution. Every country, even Red China, has a constitution. And that Constitution never guarantees anything.
If you look at the foundation of our Constitution, and comparative throughout history, is actually well written and giving a lot of liberties.
They're all well written.
The problem is the years it got rewritten and so many laws. What happened is we allowed more laws to be made when no more laws needed to be made.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there were any laws, or we stuck to the fundamentals of the Constitution, but we haven't respected that Constitution in over 100 years anywhere. Yeah.
Well, I got another question. Okay, and I'm certainly appreciate you from coming in and saying the things that you're saying, because you've been doing some real good research, fellas. I'm quite proud of you. But here goes my next question. Let's take the Constitution of the United States and let's line it up side by side with the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah. So that's an interesting perspective. Now, which one would you take?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know they threw the right to privacy. It's funny because they never talked about a right to privacy in the Constitution. That was the first mistake right there. But they threw the right to privacy out in the courts in the 1970s. Well, if you ain't got a right to privacy, that pretty much makes all the rest of your rights almost null and void. I mean, that's That's one of your most basic rights before any other shit. And they never put that into the Constitution. They never talked about a right to privacy. People don't even care about their privacy. People have been conditioned not even give a fuck about their privacy, bro. People want to give their privacy up in the name of convenience or social network on Facebook or Twitter. They don't even think about this shit. People don't even care about their privacy. That's a conditioned slave right there, bro.
Hold on, Warren. I want to address our 904 caller because he brought up the Georgia Guidestones, okay? So I wanted to address that a minute. Okay, so the Georgia Guidestones. Well, that's about genocide. That's about population reduction. And what's the best way to get that? Through the medical system, because people fall for what's there. Through because Monsanto's actually poisons the food that we're all eating. But it's not instant kill like people would want to think. You slowly get sick because you're missing the vitamins and minerals that you're supposed to have for a healthy body, a healthy immune system. So this actually affects everybody. Now through division, if we can divide everybody up and get everybody fighting, we help them with that population reduction, because what are we doing? We're all fighting one another and killing each other.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I've tried to wake people up on GMOs and stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, I'm not dying. It's like, they think that there's another word. The government's so stupid. They're going to put, like immediate poison in their food, or they're just going to eat it and die right away. It's like, look, do y'all think they're fucking idiots? They're going to obviously know if you did something like that, people are going to pick up on it. They're not fucking idiots. They've been doing this for thousands of years. They could run this goddamn system for thousands of years without, they can't be that dumb. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what?
All right. Well, let me get back in here again, man. Once again, I certainly appreciate you all for bringing this out. But I don't know how much time that you got on your show. But what if we start dealing with some solutions to the problem?
Oh, yes. Now, that's my man right there.
Yeah. I think the best thing we can do, in my opinion, man, is to go back to small communities, man. I mean, no, it's not a foolproof. But here's the thing, man. There's always going to be bad people. There's always going to be. There's nothing you can do about that. But at least in a small community, you can filter corruption out more, versus when you get a big, massive nation state or anything like that, or a big centralized structure, there's nothing you can really do to filter it out, So we get like what we're going at right now, which is going towards a global police state where people are going to be brain chipped and all this other shit. I mean, and that's going to threaten to wipe out the very nature of humanity as we know it. To me, that's a far greater evil. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, honestly,
if we get smaller,
it comes down to...
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that if we got smaller communities, that's fine. But you realize that we also have to try to defeat the division that we're having amongst each other. Because, I mean, I look at this car 904 and I look at 414 there. Okay, they're both of the same race. But my whole life, I could care less what race somebody's is because we're all human beings. And if we could just look at each other as human beings and stop people from looking at somebody's skin color, I mean, right there, that has to be stopped.
Well, it does.
And it's not even just skin color, man. That's one of the things, but it's religion, it's race, it's gender, it's any number of things, man. I mean...
I understand that, but you got to have a starting point. You got to have a starting point.
Well, here, when it comes to solutions, when it gets down to it, all these other things are not going to work. There's only one solution that will actually work to change all these things, and that's literally getting enough people to go down to the Capitol in Washington with guns and shoot up every other person that's protecting that building, walk in and take it. There's only one way that will change it. There's no other way to possibly change the world and stop what they're doing other than taking over the United States. There's no other possible way. Because you could get, we want to wake everybody up. That ain't going to work. We already know that. We're going to try, we can get people to talk about GMOs or vaccines or chemtrails or this and that. That ain't going to work. There's only one possible way that will stop them from doing what they're doing, and that's a total takeover of the entire country, and that would have to be by force.
Okay, hold it right there before anybody say anything else. I must commend you. I gotta commend you. However, I'm gonna add a little bit before you go and start cutting loose with that bazooka you got and that AK and all that stuff you got, because I know you got it. You hold right there. Don't you touch no trigger. Hold it, man. All right. Now he says some good stuff, but wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now we got to have an overall objective. There are a few things that, in my opinion, I think we need to define. And one of the main things that we need to define is the word justice. Now, this is my definition of the word justice. Justice is defined by me as guaranteeing that nobody on the planet is mistreated. And justice is also defined as guaranteeing that the person who needs the most help get the most help. Now, I think that is a worthwhile and noble goal before we start shooting. Because, and the reason I said this, man, let me give you the only thing that I know about that I've studied. I remember, and they brought the movie out about it, but I had already read it about what happened in World War II when we was fighting the Japanese up in the air, in the airplanes. And they was not allowing the brothers and sisters, the brothers, one of those sisters, going into World War II and flying with their squadrons until things got hot up there, and you was losing the B-52s. You was losing the other planes and stuff, and they were knocking you out of the sky, and finally they called us in, and we came up, and the brothers went up and did the stomping buck dance, just like Muhammad Ali up in there, and they proud of that. You didn't want us to come in your clubs. We don't want to be with you over here. we don't want to do that. But then after all this happened, then you said, we ain't going back up there no more unless they go with us. Because that, in our opinion, that's the only way we will survive. So what we've just seen with Hurricane Harvey and everything else, we see that us little folks, when it's going to get rough and we realize that it's something bigger than us, then we all come together and start doing the same thing. And
here's the thing. It's bigger than
one
just
another, and that's where we're headed at right now.
It's bigger than people just coming together, man. Let me explain why that is. I mean, that's part of it, but that's bigger than that. I mean, they want people to come together under their rule, i.e. the New Age agenda is we are one, which means in their mind they twist everything, right? One hive mind, which means, in other words, you're no longer allowed to exist as an individual. If you take away individual rights, you're a slave. You know, so it's what it comes down to. You've got to wake up individually first. Then
I have to agree with you 100%. And so now that, because I was saving this, but I'm glad you brought that up, because we have a global system. And this global system is the global system of white supremacy. That does not mean that all white people hate black people, all black people hate white. It don't mean that. We have a handful of people running this thing. Y'all done already brought all that out earlier in the broadcast. But the thing is, we're going to have to identify them, and we're going to have to deal.
Here's the thing, right? Here's why I don't buy this system of white supremacy, man, and I'll tell you why. I think at one time that did exist, and today, most of the time I hear people say white supremacy is a bunch of racist blacks. I'm not saying all blacks are racist, but right now, these elites don't care whether they're slaves or white or black or brown. They're not loyal to any of us. Okay, they hate all of us. In fact, there are black elites, too. I mean, there's different levels of elites. The governments anywhere across the world, regardless if it's a white country, a black country, an Asian country, are the elites, right?
Well, you cut me off before I got to it. I was going to tell you that. It ain't got nothing to do with us. What we got to do is realize, if we hope to survive, that it's more of us than it is of them. And it don't have nothing to do with color. What it has
it really doesn't, bro. It really doesn't. Right now, the government is playing against all the races off against one another right now. Now, what's happened is, they brought the blacks. You already know the history of the blacks and how the blacks had to fight for their equality and all that stuff, right? And now what they're doing is everything's flipping over, right? You see this in Europe where now white people are under attack, man, by our own governments. By our own government, man.
You're absolutely correct. And I was going to get to that, too. But just stop me again.
I'm sorry.
Okay, where we are right now in this story, because there's two different things. And what has happened is we've all been led to believe that these two different things are one thing. No, it's two different things. It always has been. There is history, and there is our story. Now, when I say our story, we mean all people on the planet that are classified as non-white. Now, this is the game that they have played against the world. Okay, now, let's go into the solution about why we got to deal with this thing, because if we don't deal with this thing, then we're going to have a very, very serious problem. Now, we got the advantage because it's more of us than it is of them. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to understand the most basic thing that's ever been covered up on the planet. We got racial tailoring, racial dislocation, racial white sacrifice. That's what's going on right now on this planet. So what we got to do is, just like any other game, you're going to have to win. But in this particular
what they're
game,
doing, man, if I may interject, is they're putting the white people on the right, and they're putting the colored people on the left, and they're dividing us down party lines, and they're using gynocentrism on both sides as a tool. Like, I don't know, you know what gynocentrism is, right? It means being, in other words, female-centric. In other words, everything's all about the woman. Everything's all about the woman. Fuck the guy. The guy don't matter. The guy's a nobody. You see how we live in an anti-male culture, right?
Well, you know what I like about you.
People through so many generations of propaganda, right? That they sell the propaganda to the woman, knowing that the woman controls reproduction, so the guy will follow. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, let me ask you a question. All right, now, do you believe in God?
I don't believe in religion. I believe there's a higher force out there. I don't believe in organized religion.
Do you believe in Jesus?
Jesus is religion. That's Christianity. I don't believe in organized religion.
But you do believe.
I believe there's a higher power out there.
Okay.
But I believe that we're humans. We don't really have any way of really concretely proving or knowing this kind of power. This is something that's so far beyond our ken that, you know.
All right. Well, why don't we stop believing in something we ain't never seen and start dealing with what we know for a fact and we can prove, and not get emotional about anything, and start using some logic and start coming to a conclusion and get one success after another if we start using that. Because what we're facing is we're not going to be able to survive this thing if we don't overhaul our complete thinking process. That's my opinion, man.
Yeah. So what you're saying is we need to load up our AKs and go to Washington.
Now, see, there you go again. We going to Washington, and you know what? You ain't going to be out first. You going to put you in the back, because, see, you ain't got no understanding. You going to mess up the whole meeting.
No. I'm going to pull an old-fashioned roasterie. Roasterie took the French Parliament. I can take Washington.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only Washington, fellas, and you know it. I know you're just shucking the
job.
I know, yeah. Y'all already gave the answer. This thing is bigger than that, and it's global, and ain't but a handful of them.
In theory, if we take Washington and we can take at least one military base, we drop a nuke on Colorado, and then the rest of the world will follow along.
Well, that sounds good, but who got that hand on the trigger of the nukes? Not us. It's them.
I think
so we got to come up with another plan.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Here's the sad thing about it. I know that I don't want to sound too idealistic in saying this, but I'm being realistic about this. Look, we need guns, right, in order to defend ourselves. That's self-defense, okay? I'll agree with that. But here's the sad thing about it, man, is that it's gotten to the point to where really that's the only way that that's the only way that we're going to break. It should, I'm in the mindset that it's a sad thing when we have to look forward to salvation through the barrel of a gun.
Well, it's only. Here's the thing, because their whole plan is to get somebody that's going to get everybody in the world together. So they created the chaos and the division, so they still have to create the order to get the order out of chaos. The problem is we need to trump their order and either get the people behind what we choose, or we have to take them out without the order. There's only two options in there. What other way? Because
here's the thing too. Let's say, Joe, you wanted to do that. Let's say you wanted to take them out, right? Here's the problem with that. One, they're located all over the globe. They're in various different locations. Two, they're under such tight security, man. You're never going to get to them.
No, they're not. No, you're not. Listen, we only got to take the capital and set up an interim government. And this has happened in France throughout history. It's happened in different places. If we take the capital, we literally have taken the interim government. Once we take, all we have to do is sit inside that Capitol building and write a constitution. And as long as we write a constitution while we have that capital under our possession, the rest of them, because our constitution itself, the laws are written up that way. As long as we take the cap, we only have to take the capital. We don't have to go to George Soros' house in New York and take him out and Hillary out and all this thing and that thing. All we have to do is take the capital, write a constitution. Once we write a constitution, the rest of America has to abide by it, and there could be, some, conflict here and there, but according to law, they have to submit to it, and they've always kind of followed along with these certain things. But that's one thing that we could do. The
first thing you have to do is put a right to privacy.
Hold on a minute. I have to disagree with you, and the reason why I disagree with you is because we done already did that. Bobby Seale and Hugh P. Newton and them did that. And Ronald Reagan ran out of the building. Now, we didn't write the Constitution, but what they did was there was enough time for them to reformulate and maintain the stranglehold. So, in my opinion, I think that we got to understand that this thing, and you already said it, this thing is huge, man. This thing, they got a handful of people. If we're going to deal with something, and I already know one thing for a fact. In order to stop something, you got to deal with a bully. If you got a bully doing something, you don't deal with everybody else. You find out where he at and deal with him. That stops that. So we got the Queen of England. We got people who are allowed to come into this club. We got the DuPonts. We got the Rockefellers. We got the what the boy on Facebook now, and the other one that come out with the Black Lives Matter, all that. These are the jokers.
Yeah, they're in
charge of doing this thing. These are the targets. So this is what we got to deal with. Running up in Congress, dealing with the peons, they ain't got nothing to do with nothing. We're going to have to deal with the real trigger pullers.
It has nothing to do with the people in Congress. What it has to do with igniting a world, seeing that something like that happen. Now, there's a good chance a lot of people wouldn't get behind it, but if it can be done in a way where people see that you're doing it because you want to save humanity, you want to stop hunger, you want to help, the poor, you want to not see people starving anywhere in the world anymore. If you can unite the people under a monumental movement like that, it's really like a Hail Mary, because we're at the point, I think, where only a Hail Mary is going to work. And unless you have a better idea for a Hail Mary, I'm going with let's take the Capitol.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds good now. It sounds good. I ain't putting you down. It sounds good. But I ain't never forgot what Geronimo and Sitting Bull did to Custer. I ain't never got that. Mm. So we need to get thinking a little bit higher, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Take the Vatican? I mean, the problem is, when it gets...
That's right. You said it.
But
they're phasing the Vatican out anyways, man, because when you look at what religion is, man, and I've said this before, is a business plan, right? And they plant things in these elite bloodlines. They plant things in ages, and age is 2,160 years, and we've been through several ages, right? They always give you a religion for every age, right? And the age of Pisces, which is Christianity, we're at the end of that. We're going into the age of Aquarius, the new age, right? So they're already phasing out the old priesthoods and setting up the new priesthoods anyhow. The new priesthood is a scientific dictatorship. So science is a new religion.
You're right. Well, that's why I don't want to attack it. I wouldn't want to attack the Vatican, because here's the thing: when you get religion involved, then you get people emotional about their religion. And that's a tough battle to face, because
we getting rid of that tonight.
Yeah.
We get rid of that tonight.
You know, I tell you what, you know, if people around the world saw one major movement done, you might get the people in Britain to take the Queen's Castle there out, you know, take the Parliament in London out, and all you would need is one or two to follow along. Then the rest of the world is going to be like, hey, we're finally going to find our freedom. But
Who's going to
what other
to go to the Rothschilds' mansion and take that?
You know, isn't it ironic that their mansion is named after my last name? Did I show you that?
What's going on in order to achieve our goal of justice? It's going to have to happen. Otherwise, we won't have no peace on the planet. We're going to have real justice, and I define justice for you. And it because people have a nature. And I'm not saying that we will ever all get along. Even if we know the whole truth, we still won't get along because our nature is different. But we are not talking about that now. We are talking about survival. And after that is over, then we can go back to hating each other.
Yeah, but right now, the only way we're going to survive is by putting a stop. How else do you put a stop to these people? I mean, because you know what, like you said, you came in with the idea of a solution, and I love that. I push for solutions every day, but what racks my brain is what the hell do we do? That's the tough one.
Well, that's why I'm on here tonight. That's why I'm here tonight to see if we can hammer out some solutions, because we're just as smart as anybody else. I don't have no master's degree, and none of that, but that don't mean I don't have no brain.
What people
I'm on here tonight.
See, a piece of paper doesn't really mean that somebody's smart. I mean, there's a lot of idiots that have degrees.
Yeah.
I said,
But like our 904 caller here, I'm with him all the way. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. You know, it's just like with Jerry there, so... Our 904 caller here, I mean, I really appreciate this guy coming aboard.
Yeah.
And I would try to straighten myself out. You know what? I'm going to tell you something, man. Everything was, as far as I was concerned, you know, everything wasn't going all right, and I didn't like a whole lot of stuff going on. But they had a hurricane down here, and the wind blowed on my house. Now we got a problem. So I'm on here tonight.
Yeah.
We've been straightening all this out.
Hey, one more question for you. Yeah, what's your media saying down there? Are they telling you got storms out in the sea again, 3 of them?
Hey, yeah, well, they do that, and what they're doing is we got to understand is they lying to me, they lying to you, they lying to Chicago, they lying to California, they lying to Detroit, because that's why I told you about that Georgia Guidestones and all this other stuff. We know they're lying. They're suppressing information. They've been doing that for years and years and years. They got music that was produced in the North back in the 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s that us down here in the South never heard. And they did the same thing with music that was produced down here in the South that people in the North have never heard. It's called control. Now, you can't be no man under this current system of global white supremacy and racism. Racism is white supremacy. White supremacy is racism. That is what we have titled this thing based on what we see. So
racism goes in all directions. Racism. I mean, to say white. I mean, white supremacy, racism, black supremacy, brown supremacy, Asian supremacy. Any supremacy is racism.
Well, I have to disagree with that, and the reason why I do is because there is only one race, and that is the people who created the word race. It don't have nothing to do with us down here. These people here don't care nothing about you, me, your daughter, my daughter, Japanese child, Korean child. They don't care about none of that. They are involved in their own personal aggrandizement in reducing Earth's population. They regard themselves as better than you and me.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. If there's only one race, that means there's no more of a black race than there is a white race.
Ain't no black race. There can't be one.
There is no
one race, and that's
so how can you say racism is white supremacy if there is no white race?
Well, are you going to get to that? I'll get to that if you let me.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm using that term is because these are the terms that was created. Now, in order for this to understand, I'll probably have to give you this stuff if you will let me give it to you. And this will probably shock you beyond the bounds of human sanity. 95% of what they told you in the Bible that happened in North Africa didn't happen there. It happened in this hemisphere. All of the states that we have on this continent are going down, slightly down into South America and Mexico, have all Egyptians' names. I'm in Florida. 40 miles off the coast of Florida, underground, under the Atlantic Ocean, is a 400-foot high pyramid. From that pyramid, going down to Bimini and sweeping over to Cuba is in our ancient cities. The Grand Canyon is full right now because they couldn't get rid of all of it, tombs and temples and stuff with not only artifacts but mummies in tombs today. What they did was, back in the, and keep in mind when I say they, I'm not talking about me and you. I'm talking about the people that had the financial power to maintain the cover-up. They did the same thing when they shot Kennedy and Dallas. And the cover-up still exists because once you tell a lie, you got to keep it propped up. So that's what they're doing. So what they have to do with you is to lead you to believe something different. But once you know the truth, then you're on your way to becoming free. So now what we have here is we have people that's been labeled as white, people who have been labeled as black, people who have been labeled as Indian, when we know for a fact that if you are Chinese, there's a land called China. If you are Japanese, there's a land called Japan. If you are Korean, there's a land called Korea. If you are Cuban, there's a land called Cuba. So how are we going to have Indians in America when we got the country called Indian? The people are indigenous to that are calling themselves as Indians and don't know nothing about the people over here. The Vatican, the Vatican, what they did was, let me tell you what they did. The Vatican always petitioned the 11 churches in this hemisphere in order to be the number one, but they never would let them be number one. So what they did was they sent mercenaries over here. They destroyed those churches, and the orders were to kill the priests and burn the churches and burn all knowledge concerning the Moorish Empire in this hemisphere. The word Moor means black. That's all it means. But it was the same people that brought civilization to the world. It was the same people, the ancient African Egyptians.
It's interesting you brought the Moors because, like I said, going back to the slave trade, I mean, that's what I've been saying. Is everybody's enslaved everybody, man. There were actually Moors and Arabs and people all across North Africa that enslaved white people. Everybody's enslaved everybody down through history. I mean, people even enslaved their own races. There have been blacks enslaving other blacks, whites enslaving other whites. Our whole history has been slavery, bro.
Well, no, but I'm not talking about slavery. I'm not talking about slavery. What I'm talking about is the cover up and the misappropriation of knowledge that will set you free.
Yeah.
See, Jerusalem is not in North Africa. Jerusalem is in Peru. And what they have to do is they have to maintain the strength of the cover-up of who the rightful owners of the land.
So what you're saying
understand?
is we got to load up our AKs and go to the, capital.
Yeah, you. When you load join up, you ain't going nowhere but to the library. I'm gonna make sure that you don't get out of line and shoot nobody before you do anything.
I'm pretty sure that's what you were saying.
Here's the sad thing about it, and when it comes down to that, do people have to even pick up a gun or doing all that? If people globally would get their heads out of their asses, right, and start by caring.
But we know
they should care because caring means caring about yourself. If you don't care what's going on in the world, you don't care about what's going on in politics, that means you ultimately don't care about yourself.
Here's the problem.
So people need to care. And if enough people cared, and if enough people got their heads out of their asses and said, look, man, let's make a difference here, and let's do something that's going to last.
But there
wouldn't need to be any guns necessarily. All people have to do is just say, look.
There's been history, throughout history, there's been times of enlightenment. And we know for a fact that only a certain percentage
I have
of people
to agree with you
up.
guys. He just said it. I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
100%. And that's why I was dealing with you guys about believing in stuff instead of knowing for a fact and what you can prove. And that's what I've been attempting to do, because everything that I have told you, I have the ability to prove. So what I would like to do at this time
and I guess back to the old golden rule, chillers, is you'd have them treat you. Because here's the thing: if people really care about themselves, they'll care about how they treat other people. Because it's cause and effect, and we all have to live here together. And if we don't get our shit together, we're all fucked.
Yeah, but nobody.
Well, I have to agree with you. But what I would like to do is I would like to invite you all to go to get the information that I have, so that you can examine it, and in your own personal opinion, do all the investigation, everything that you
I'm already knowing what you just said. I'm totally down with what you just said. I understand it. Trust me. This thing, when this thing hit, it just hit a few years ago now, because the guy that found this stuff, he found the ancient maps, and he found that Chicago, New York, Detroit, Florida, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, all of that had ancient Egyptian names. And when he brought it to the church ran. He took it to European archaeologists and geographists, and they said, well, look, if we mess with this, we will lose our careers. So what they did was they took him to a place up north, and they showed him the caves and stuff with the African ships. They had been here hundreds of thousands of years before Columbus. The Phoenicians were here for a long time. I think that's pretty well understood.
But the thing is, when we get off the track, now you got to understand this right here. This is the clincher, because when they start releasing information, you got to be leery, because they have no intention of relinquishing the stranglehold they got on the people. So you have to you got to do your own personal research to come to a conclusion based on the facts.
Yeah, because what they do, Matt, is they put agents out there, right, who will use a little bit of truth to bait people in, and they'll spin it off with their own agenda. It's called counterintelligence.
There you go. You're right.
You know.
Well, I think anybody, if you really look at some of the old Indian names they had for different territories and whatnot, you can see that they're Phoenician. You can see that they're, which Phoenician would be parts of Egypt. You can see that they're that.
Well, every state. If you want to know know where Mecca is, the original Mecca, all you have to do is go to Chicago.
I'm not sold on that part. I've heard.
That's what's on the map. And then if you want to know who the king of California was, the king of Cuba and the queen of California, all you have to do is look at the ancient records. Now, what has happened is this right here. This is how strong this cover-up is. They have people inside the United States. These people are quiet as a mouse. Any hurricane, earthquake, tornado, no matter what happened, none of it don't get on them. It is amazing how we got a whole Congress, the Pentagon, the White House, and all of this is happening, but none of their property is touched. They are the ones who are the keepers in a lot of cases, not all cases, but in a lot of cases of the documents that will prove beyond any shadow of a doubt what I'm talking about. It's all over the world. This thing is huge, man. And the only way we're going to be free unless we come armed with the truth. Do you remember the movie Frankenstein?
I remember
Y'all
that.
remember that old movie?
Which version? You talking about the old one in the 40s or the Mary Shelley?
Back in the 40s. When they
I remember
came to get Frankenstein, what did the people have in their hands? What did they have in their hands?
We're out of
they
time,
had
guys.
torches with lights on it.
We're out of time, bro. We'll get back to it next week. We're out of time.
All right, partner.
I'm for a caller. I would definitely appreciate you calling back into the show again.
All right, man.
It's good talking to you, bro.
I enjoyed talking to you about going to bum rush the Capitol.
Yep, but we're out of time for now. I'll be back here on Thursday night, and then again on Saturday night with Jerry. So until then, I'm our 904 caller can call back, and John, if you call back, I definitely appreciate that.
All right, I'm gonna do the best I can.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Napa know-how. A Napa guy knows more isn't always better, unless we're talking about full-size vans. These beasts do more than get you from A to B. They have so much space a man can live in it. With shag carpeting, waterbed, and a sweet lava lamp, these mobile abodes have all the comforts of home. With quality parts and plenty of Napa know-how, you can keep the original tiny house running longer, stronger. That's Napa know-how. Napa know-how.
Jill never thought she'd be so excited to hear this again.
Mom!
That's what happens after a week in the hospital.
Mom, hurry up!
And while she was there, we made her recovery easier by helping coordinate childcare.
Mommy!
So now she's back to helping with long division, chasing away monsters, and everything else that comes with being a mom. Aetna, you don't join us.
Mom!
We join you. Find out more at aetnawejoinyou.com.